It's noted in this article that General Myers made a point that my initials are not on the document. Does that indicate that he had some reservations about this? And did he express some of those reservations with you? It says normally he would have initialed a memo to indicate approval, but there was no confirmation that Myers had seen the memo or formally signed off on it. I can't digest this that quickly. Can you clarify that at all?
Just 1 second, sir, please.
What's this? Who handed me this? What's this? Who handed me what am I sent to do? What's it say? Yeah.
This is what Hayes says. I have discussed this with the deputy, meaning
yeah.
and General Myers. This is what he's referring to.
Would you finish? I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Senator. Senator, in the days leading up to Mr. Haynes's memo of the 27th of November, which was then approved by the Secretary on the 2nd of December, there were meetings at the Secretary of Defense level involving General Myers, involving Mr. Haynes and myself. In those meetings, we discussed the various techniques, the safeguards that would be applied, and my understanding and my recollection is that General Myers was satisfied with the techniques that the Secretary approved.
All right. Thank you. My time is up.
Thank you, Senator Warner. Senator Reed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Admiral Dalton, as you've indicated in your testimony, when you received the request, when General Myers received the request, the Joint Staff solicited the opinion of service JAGs. And you say they raised concerns, but these are very significant concerns. The Army JAG said that the stress positions, deprivation of light and auditory stimuli, and use of phobias to induce stress crosses the line of humane treatment. The Chief Legal Advisor of the Criminal Investigation Task Force at Guantanamo said that certain techniques may subject service members to punitive articles of the UCMJ. The Air Force said that the techniques may fail to meet requirements, quote, to treat detainees humanely. The Marine Corps said several techniques arguably violate federal law and would expose our service members to possible prosecution.
Yes,
Those
Senator.
are accurate summary?
Yes, Senator.
Did you make General Myers aware of all those concerns?
Senator, my recollection is that the decision makers were aware that there had been concerns.
No, I'm asking you specifically, as the counsel to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, did you make him fully aware of the various serious concerns that were raised by uniformed officers of the United States military?
Senator, I don't recall the specific conversations that I had with the chairman, but it is my recollection that he was aware of these concerns and that I made him aware of those concerns. Yes, sir.
Did he make Mr. Haynes aware of those concerns?
I don't know, sir. Senator, in the conversations that we had and the meetings that we had, my recollection is that those concerns were taken into account and addressed as a part of the overall context of the conversations. I don't recall that anyone specifically pulled out memos and showed the memos, but that we were aware that there were concerns, and those concerns were addressed in our discussion of the safeguards and the way that the techniques would be implemented.
You just said that you continued discussions with Mr. Haynes, although you were told, and let me, again, I think you made it very clear, you were essentially told through General Myers to stop any formal legal analysis to reach a formal conclusion. Is that correct?
I was told to stop the broad-based legal review that would, and policy review that would have involved the services and the other agencies like Fort Huachuca and DIA. I was told to stop the broad-based analysis.
But you were told or not dissuaded by General Myers to continue to evaluate all of these options in conjunction with Mr. Haynes?
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't understand. General Myers did not prevent me from continuing the discussions with Mr. Haynes.
So were you privy to all discussions with Mr. Haynes on these topics?
I'm sure I was not, sir.
So selectively you participated in the you participated in not in every discussion, but in several discussions. Fair.
Yes, Senator, I participated. Yes, sir.
And did you raise these concerns, not in citing formal memorandum, but raise specific concerns, the violation of UCMJ?
Senator, I have a hard time recalling the specifics of any particular conversation in a particular meeting. I believe these concerns were known and addressed, and as I said before, in the context of the meetings and the conversations that we had. We recognized that there were issues related to UCMJ concerns, there were issues related to federal and domestic law concerns, as well as international law.
And you were satisfied that you were satisfied these concerns were fully addressed by Mr. Haynes or by someone?
I was satisfied, yes, Senator, I was satisfied that in the context of the discussions we had, that those concerns were addressed.
You mentioned the fact that, and I think in response to Senator Warner, that General Myers signed off on the techniques.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. He can, as stated in Mr. Haynes' memo. Right, as stated in Mr. Haynes' memo, he agreed that the approval of those techniques could be conducted consistent with.
You read Mr. Haynes' memo?
Yes, Senator.
At the time it was released, contemporaneous with the release?
Shortly after the release.
Did you have any questions about the legal sufficiency of this memorandum?
I specifically did. I was not asked to opine, and I don't recall that I opined on the details. There was one phrase in the memorandum which said that arguably all of the techniques would be legal or authorized, including the three that were not authorized. I did not. I was not asked to opine on the memo, but I did not necessarily believe that that was correct.
Did you feel he had an obligation to General Myers, since he was referenced in this memo as concurring or at least giving some non-objection, to advise him that there were elements here that you thought had serious legal problems?
Sir, I wasn't aware of the memo until after Mr. Haynes had initiated it and the Secretary had signed it.
But if the memorandum had legal conclusions that you significantly disagree with, didn't you feel you had an obligation to at least make General Myers aware of this?
After the fact, Senator?
Sure.
Since the Secretary had not authorized those techniques, I didn't feel that it was necessary to go into a lot of detail with the Chairman about whether or not every word in the memorandum was correct. The Secretary authorized less than the full category of techniques, and that's what I was satisfied with and what General Myers was satisfied with.
Well, the memorandum essentially said that all these techniques are legal, the Category 3 techniques, but as a matter of policy, we're not going to have a blanket approval.
Right. Yes, Senator.
Leaving it up to, leaving the issue that these are legal techniques, at least the official opinion endorsed by the Secretary of Defense is these are legal techniques. Correct?
I would not. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Excuse me.
Senator, I would not say that that was the legal opinion endorsed by the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of Defense was approving the use of particular techniques. As to whether or not other techniques might or might not be legal, if the combatant commander wanted to use those techniques, he would then have to come up and ask, and there could then be a separate and additional review. It was not necessary to reach that question, given that the Secretary approved the ones that he did.
But the only reason that this is not a blanket approval is a matter of policy, not of law. As I read this, Category 3 techniques may be legally available, but as a matter of policy, that's what it says essentially. And
yes.
you didn't think, you thought that was an appropriate legal analysis?
No, sir, I did not think that was an appropriate legal analysis. I did not think it was necessary to engage on that subject since the Secretary had already approved the techniques, and that was what we were providing to the combatant commander.
You are aware of Lieutenant Colonel Beaver's memorandum, is that correct?
I am, Senator.
You read it?
I did, sir.
In her memorandum, she said, regarding the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the proposal to grab, poke in the chest, push lightly, and place a wet towel or cold hood over the detainee's head would constitute a per se violation of Article 128 assault. One of the techniques that you approved was pushing or poking lightly. Do you disagree with her analysis?
I disagree with that analysis, yes, sir.
How about Article 93 of the UCMJ, which forbids maltreatment of anyone under the control of a military personnel?
Senator, I did not view light pushing and poking with the finger to be maltreatment.
All right. So So you would also disagree with Colonel Beaver in her suggestion that because of the potential violation of UCMJ, there would have to be some type of immunity, or you would disagree with that?
That's correct, sir. I don't believe that's correct.
Mr. Mora, what's your view with respect to Articles 128 and Article 93 of the UCMJ?
Senator, I'm not a specialist in that area. I never focused on those specific matters. My concern with the memorandum is that it did not include a bright line of abuse which could not be transgressed. For example, you look at Lieutenant Colonel Beaver's memorandum, and nowhere does it say that you may engage in these tactics just until you reach the point where it reaches cruel and human integrating treatment, and you may go no further, because there was no such boundary anywhere in the memorandum. It was all subject to abuse.
Colonel Dalton, I have a final question. Part of your rationale for agreeing with